As of late, I've been thinking about how the year 2020 was already 5 years ago. During this time, I was an awkward 15-year-old who was nervous but excited to experience just a normal time in high school. I knew one thing for certain. I was not going to let anybody ruin this experience for me. Not one single thing.
On Monday in China, it suffered its highest number of deaths in one day. 103 people.
And then the entire planet shut down. That was fun. Okay, now, obviously 2020 didn't go as planned. It didn't matter if you were a 15-year-old in the United States or a 45-year-old in Paris. Everybody was affected by this. The only ones who are probably safe are those random remote jungle tribes in the middle of the ocean. Now, for those of you who are too young to experience what happened, or if this video is being played in a museum 100 years from now, either way, allow me to explain what exactly happened and how 2020 lockdown came to be. Now, everything started off normal. Spring break had literally just finished for my high school and nothing seemed too out of the ordinary. I mean, during the break, there had been talks of a new virus that was originating out of China, but nothing was gonna come out of it, right? Besides, China is across the world, so we had nothing to worry about. Until days passed, and we saw more and more reports of people getting sick with this new mystery virus. It spread from China to Europe to North America within days, and before I knew it, we were getting a 2-week break from school. I'm pretty sure everybody was hyped at the fact that we had to do nothing for 2 weeks. When I heard there was going to be no school for the next 2 weeks, I immediately hopped my little ass on Fortnite and played it for like the next 14 hours. When I have my own children, I'm going to describe lockdown as truly one of the hardest times of my life, where I was depleted of social interactions and I was the most alone I'd ever felt in my life. It was just so hard, knowing damn well that I was doing nothing but watching TikToks, playing Fortnite for 13 hours a day, gooning and eating chips. Now yes, boo-hoo, I couldn't hang out with people. So what? I was an awkward teenager who had absolutely zero social skills. So like, bro, for me, this was the best possible outcome that could have occurred. I remember some days I would wake up at 2 p.m. and immediately start scrolling on TikTok for hours on end, knowing damn well I hadn't showered in the past 3 days. It was bad, bro. I'm telling you, there were some stinky dudes. I'd be waking up so late that the only thing I would eat is dinner. I was definitely walking around my house emanating green aura with flies. It was bad. It was during this 2-week break that eventually all unnecessary activities are to be put on hold, and measures like social distancing and quarantines were put in place. Face masks became mandatory in places all over the world. I'd go to Walmart and everybody would be masked up. There were designated spots where you could and couldn't stand. Hand sanitizer is in every possible location, and the only thing that was hard to find was toilet paper. People were stocking up on toilet paper like the next day was going to be the apocalypse. Finding toilet paper at the time was like finding a rare Pokemon card just sitting on the ground. You would have better luck winning the lottery than finding 3 rolls of Charmin Ultra Soft. There were a couple days in my household where we had no toilet paper, and I'm telling you, if we ran out of paper towel, bro, I would have started using my old Angry Birds t-shirts from the 2nd grade. Before we knew it, these 2 weeks of no school slowly turned into there are just going to be no classes for the foreseeable future. All future classes will instead be held online within video call platforms like Zoom and Google Classrooms. Alright, I'm just gonna get one thing out of the way. I don't think I once at all showed up to any of these classes on time, if I even bothered to show up in the first place. You're telling me that I had to wake up at 8 a.m. after staying up nearly all night playing games and shooting blanks on TikTok to attend a 30-minute Zoom call that the teacher doesn't even want to be in? Yeah, I'm going back to sleep. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. I'm pretty sure that a good 50% of you watching this video right now did the exact same thing. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that I was failing school pretty bad. I've never been the best in school to begin with, but this was bad for my standards. Shortly after, though, our school board came out and said that anything done after the beginning of the lockdown would not count towards our final grade. Yeah, I suppose you could say that me not showing up to online class was truly an alpha power move, because at the end of the day, it wouldn't even matter in the first place. You gotta think smarter, my friends, not harder. Time is money. and I would spend that time sleeping. Also, wearing a mask was ass. I'm not here to argue whether you think masks worked or they didn't work. I'm here to argue that they made me tired of smelling my hot ass breath. Bro, there were times where I'd have to wake up super early to go out somewhere and I'd wear a mask and I had no time to brush my teeth. So for the next hour, I'd just be sitting there smelling my morning stank the entire time I was out of the house. See, but when you tried to put a breath mint in your mouth to maybe neutralize the stink, it would just redirect your breath directly into your eyeballs. So if you weren't already in tears about how rancid your morning breath was, you would definitely be crying about the amount of menthol that your eyes are being exposed to. Now listen, at first, lockdown was amazing. School was no longer going, many people didn't have to go to work anymore, and because everybody was too scared to leave the house, food delivery services like DoorDash and Uber Eats became a super popular option. Legitimately, all I was doing was eating delivered McDonald's and playing video games all day long. And obviously, with very little physical activity, I started to get a wee bit, rotund. My circumference was getting larger by the week, and it's because of this that I started to feel the first few negatives of lockdown. Trust me, sitting around on my ass all day was fun for a few weeks, but after around the 2-month mark, you really start to realize what's going on. In my mind, I started to think that maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be, and you start to miss the simple things, like just going for a bike ride with your friends, or just going to the movies, simple things. I think once summer break of 2020 rolled around is when we started to notice the actual effects of lockdown. For example, the class of 2020 wasn't able to get an official graduation. Instead, most schools opted out for a Zoom call, and that's it. I was lucky enough to get an actual graduation. You know how pissed I would be if I went through 12 years of bullshit just to be sitting there on a Zoom call? I know that was awkward as hell too. They were just sitting at their screen like, Tokemon, Stickman, congratulations on your graduation. Are you fucking kidding me? Tons of people were also getting laid off of their jobs due to not being able to keep up with the rapidly changing environment. Even my dad had to work from home at one point, and our apartment was so small that he had absolutely nowhere to set up his workstation. So he had to put it in my room, and I would regularly wake up at like 6 a.m. to hear my dad on a work meeting or tip-tapping away at his keyboard. I was having so little real-life social interactions with people that I would dream that I was hanging out with my friend, only for it to be shattered by hearing. As summer break went on, I was really starting to feel bad. I missed being able to see my friends and even my family because of this entire lockdown. It wasn't just as simple as hopping on Fortnite and playing games for hours a day because I was starting to really get bored of it. I got so bored of playing Fortnite that I camo grinded both different types of skins on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. And also, you gotta keep in mind that I was starting to get fat as hell during this point. That DoorDash and sweet chili Doritos were really starting to take a toll on me, both physically and mentally. Sure, I could go online and make friends, play games, but I was missing that face-to-face with people. And to put it bluntly, this is where I started getting depressed. And I know for a fact I wasn't the only one who felt this way because I've talked to so many people my age and they felt the same way. So what I used to do is I would go on walks late at night. The apartment that me and my family lived in at the time was on the basement floor, so my window would lead straight to the grass near the sidewalk. So on those nights when it was like 2 a.m. and I just couldn't sleep, I would get out of my bed, hop out the window, and just go for a walk around the neighborhood without a mask or nothing. I would just take in the night air and finally feel freedom for the first time in quite a while. What I liked to do is I would walk the mile to the skate park and I would just sit there alone with my thoughts and take everything in. I didn't have to worry about no social distancing or having to use hand sanitizer every 45 seconds. At these times where I would just walk around the neighborhood, I would feel like it was just me being able to get a break from all the chaos that was going on within the world. It was such a good refresh for me mentally just to be able to walk around and just unwind, relax. And I know for a fact that me and so many other people who are in my generation didn't have a normal time to grow up and be teenagers. And it's just a fact that we did miss out on certain things. And that sucks, like really bad. But at the same time, I'm super happy that I got to have such a unique experience. Obviously, after about a year or so, things started to settle down. Mandates were lifted. People were able to go back to school, go back to their jobs. And it was really awesome being able to go outside and interact and just live life again. It's crazy to think that this wasn't like 2 years ago. This was 5 years ago. This was half a decade. Bro, that is a long time. Before we know it, we're gonna wake up and be old as hell. If I learned anything from the entire lockdown, it's that I can't be locked in for too long. Having no responsibilities is fun, up to a certain extent. Being isolated is not fun. I hope this was a fun little bit of nostalgia down memory lane, for the better or worse. If you guys want to watch more, check out this video. It's pretty cool, and that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week, and love you. Bye.
I'm Loteke. I don't think you want no action. You want action, you get turned into past tense. In the past. Your boy's deep, so let's get to subtraction. Smith and Wesson made my nine with some compassion. I was trying to beat that case, but I ain't beat that case, bitch. I did the race.